Let's go.
Alright guys, let's get started on this shit. First up, we got the S14. This thing is the 4-cylinder in the OG M3. The first ever M3 engine. I'm gonna put it in beats here because it's like a 4-cylinder M engine. It doesn't really make, when you think of that, like an M engine or an M car, you think of inline 6 or V8, right? You don't really think 4 cylinders. But you can kind of appreciate how BMW was like trying to keep that lightness back in the day, which they obviously do not anymore because the G80 weighs 4,000 pounds, which is fucking nuts. So top of B tier for me. All right, next up we got a goated engine. This is the S54. This thing's naturally aspirated, high revving, made great power for the time it was out. Still does today as well, actually. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm tripping. And it is probably fairly easy to work on. But this engine would probably be the greatest engine BMW has ever made, except for the fact that it was kind of plagued with reliability issues. Like rod bearings the rod bearings in these are made of paper. I think Vanos was an issue on this, and maybe throttle actuators too, and also the subframe. But granted, the subframe is not part of the engine, so I'm not really gonna include that. Yeah, this one's going top of A for me. It's a great engine, but like all of BMW's goated engines, they just fuck up on the reliability for the most part. At least their most unique ones, as we'll see later. All right, now we got the S55. I think this may be the best all-around, of these engines. Like, it kind of just does everything. It makes power. It's pretty reliable. Guys, the crank hub issue, that shit is overrated, okay? It doesn't happen nearly as much as you think. I know you see it on TikTok, oh, this crank hub spun, and guys, that only really happens to cars that are modded to shit. Then your chance goes up. But like, also, if you do want to get it done, it's a one and done thing. It does cost thousands, but once you get it done, you're good. This thing doesn't really have any reliability issues other than that. And you can make great power out of it. It does kind of sound shit, though, I'm not gonna lie. And by the way, if there's anyone out here who thinks that the B58 is generally better than the S55, you're smoking crack. The S55 is no doubt better than the B58. Just want to throw that out there. It's my 2 cents on that. I know that's kind of a heated subject in the BMW community, and it really shouldn't be. Alright, next up we got the S62. This is the GOAT of all BMW V8s. Naturally aspirated, reliable, revs high, I think. And it is in a decently affordable car, and probably not too hard to work on because it's an older V8. Not as much complexity with wires, and there's no turbos. So, also not too much complexity. This thing was in the E39, and it's just a goated engine. It's like a staple, like... It has everything you need in it. It has the power, the reliability, you can work on it by yourself, and it's in a great looking car. The E39 is just stunning. I know it's not really the engine, but just a factor. Alright, next up we got its like bigger brother, or younger brother, I guess, depending on what you want to describe it as. This is the S63. Basically a V8, but with 2 turbos added to it. And this thing is definitely better than the S62 for making power. I'm gonna put in nature though, because I really think the earlier ones were really unreliable. Because of the hot V layout, like they were cooking its own gaskets. So yeah, there's that. The newer ones, the technical upgrade ones, aka 2U, they're definitely better. But this thing makes pretty good power. It sounds pretty good. It's a V8, but it is kind of muffled by the turbos. I think it's decent all around. All right, next up we got the M88. This is the grandfather of all the BMW M engines. This is the first ever engine in a M car, the M1. And this thing, obviously, I don't know too much about it because it is super rare. I do know it sounds good. I'll search up clips of it before. They sound amazing. As honestly, any naturally aspirated BMW inline 6 or V8 or probably the 4-cylinder S14 sounds fucking good. Like it's undeniable. And this thing, is no stranger to that. It's in the first M1. I gotta put it in S tier just for that. I'm putting it above the S62 as well. All right, next up we got the S65. Now I would put this above the S62 up here if it wasn't for how unreliable this thing is. Like, this thing sounds better than both of these V8s by far. This is the best sounding engine maybe ever. Like, you may come if you hear this engine. I'm not joking. It sounds that good. But like the S52 and a lot of engines of this era, sorry, my throat's kind of scratchy right now if you couldn't tell. This car has rod bearings made of absolute fucking paper, and it has throttle actuator issues. Just, this engine is not reliable is what I'm trying to say. And that's really what brings it down, because it's so great. It revs so high, has ITBs. It's a V8 that sounds so great. And the only M3 that had a V8. So I'm going to put it in mid-8 tier. I think that's a good spot for it. Alright, next we got the S38, I believe. Yeah. This is the one that was in the OG M5 and M6 before they came with V8s. So it's kind of like the S14 in that sense. Like, it was the engine before the staple engine came out and the next model. So because I feel like the M3 is kind of more of like a prestigious name, I guess, in BMW's like history, I'm gonna put it below the S14, but definitely not below B tier because it was the first M5 and M6 engine. It can't be any lower than that. It's still goated. All right, now this is my hot take. I think this is the best BMW engine ever made. Yeah, yes, I am not on crack cocaine or any type of drug. The S52/S50 is so good for many reasons. Okay, let me explain myself. The S50 is better, obviously, because it has a Euro spec version, has more horsepower. But the US one is good too, because they're both extremely reliable. You could deadass shoot the block with like a 12 gauge or any part of the engine with a 12 gauge, and it might live. It literally just might live. The one thing that might be harmed is the fucking 12 gauge. That's how fucking bulletproof this block is. And it's sort of underpowered, but if you want to add boost, you absolutely can. This thing is fairly easy to add boost. It's easy to work on, and it's fairly cheap to boost as well. And it just loves those sweet horses from that turbo or supercharger, whichever one. You can go any route. And you can make like 500 wheel very easily with these engines. That's not the limit either. It's insane. These things are cheap too. You can get like a Z3M Roadster with an S52 for like 15K, and it has 100K miles, or less than 100K actually, and that's like a break-even.
Charge complete.
So yeah, that's my hot take. I think the S52/S50 is the best BMW engine ever made. All right, next we got the S58. This is the TikTok infamous downpipe and tune, 1,000 horsepower. There's some truth to that, not 1,000 horsepower, but this thing is the undisputed GOAT for making power, so I'm gonna put that above the S63 in A tier, because I think it's just like a better S63. It's more reliable, it makes better power, it's smoother. I think the turbo delivery is just better in general. So yeah, it makes great power, but my gripe with this engine is that it's hard to get because it's very expensive, and it sounds fucking terrible. It sounds like horseshit. Okay, this thing, I'd rather hear a straight pipe VQ, a base model straight pipe Honda Civic, etc., etc. This thing sounds so bad. I wish I could hear a good setup. These things probably sound nasty on a single turbo setup, like a S55 does. Because the S55 doesn't sound as good either. It's not as bad as the S58, but not good. Yeah, this thing sounds like terrible. I'll include a clip real quick. And yeah, so that's just my opinion. I think it sounds dog shit. Definitely every engine on here sounds better than it. So yeah, S58, undisputed GOAT for making power, but I'm gonna put it. I'll put it top, mid A tier, All right, my bad, guys. Didn't mean to cut that out there. I accidentally closed a tab. Next, we got the S85. This is the only V10 they've ever made in a production M car, and it's the only one they ever will, likely because of emissions and shit like that. And unfortunately, because of emissions, you can't really make cool engines like this anymore, which really sucks. Hence why the new AMG 63 has a goddamn 4-cylinder. That's kind of them though, not just emissions. That's them being lame. I don't know why they did that, but that's a story for a different time. Anyway, this thing, like the S65 and S54, aka BMW's coolest engines, they just have rod bearings of just paper, literal paper. Like, you could probably snap them in half with your fingers. They're so bad, and this engine is so unreliable. Also, because the SMG transmission, valve cover gaskets, I think, are like shred. Vanos, throttle actuators, all the above, man. I'm gonna put it above the S63 because it is a V10 no matter what. Sounds amazing, and it's very unique, but it's just so plagued with reliability. It sucks because BMW's best engines are really just so great, and then there's just made of rod bearings that are so bad. All right, and these two, by the way, are diesel engines. I did not make this list. I'll be honest. This is just a list on Tier Maker. So I'm not sure why they're included. They are both the diesel engines, and I don't believe they're in any M car, but feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, this is my list. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you disagree with me, well, I'm right. No, I'm just kidding. But actually, if you do disagree with me or agree with me, let me know in the comments. Very much appreciated. Thank you so much for watching my videos. Like, subscribe, you know, etc. Whatever. Blah, blah, blah. Thank you guys. Have a great day. Peace.